Business brief, leveraging technology to improve customer focus and achieve faster results, featuring Baton Global. I'm Julie Forsythe, Senior Vice President for Business and Economic Growth here at the Chamber, and it's my pleasure to be your host for this event this morning. The Quad Cities Chamber Business Briefs are short, free-to-attend programs designed to connect you with the latest guidance and resources to help you and your organization thrive. Look for business briefs on our website and our e-news. The content will always be available for you to refer to again. If you have questions today, please place them in the Q&A box, and I'll get those out to our speakers in real time and hopefully get those answered along the way. And if not, we can do them at the end. Let's get started. I would like to introduce our two panelists from Baton Global. They are a strategic advisory firm with operations here in the Midwest, the Middle East, and South Asia. Baton helps clients unlock potential and opportunities through strategy, innovation, leadership, and research. Our first panelist is Edward Milhoff, or EC, a senior consultant with Baton Global. EC brings strategy to execution expertise gained from over 30 years of experience transforming companies to perform at a higher level. His passion for innovation drives him to lead teams and develop more customer-centric approaches to reach and better serve target segments. And our second panelist is Wade Britt, Chief Operating Officer for Baton Global. Wade's experience spans 25 plus years running global businesses in the EdTech and logistics sectors, combined with his recent role as strategic advisor to a number of financial service institutions in the Midwest. Wade's experience spans the globe as well, having run businesses in South America, North Europe, and South Asia. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks, Julie.
Good morning, Julie. Thanks for having us. All right. Is audio working fine?
We can hear you.
Oh, fantastic. Shall I just go ahead and throw up the presentation deck and take it away?
Take it away.
All right, it's asking me questions about who can share. I am not able to, there we go, that's working wonderful now.
There we go.
All right, wonderful. Hopefully everybody's seeing the cover slide of the presentation. EC and I are going to be joining you this morning to talk a little bit about how to leverage technology. Given that, we've got a diverse group of attendees, we are not kind of advocating or focusing on one particular kind of technology or tech stack. What we're really going to try to do today is give you some real practical guidelines about understanding sort of where you might be relative to some trends that you want to take advantage of and how to very practically move forward from that. So the kind of lenses that we're going to discuss technology through is really looking at sort of a customer integration and a cultural lens, giving you kind of a little bit of framework for each of these so that you can get a good understanding of where you are. And then based on where you are, what does that imply about your next step forward or your area of focus? We're hopefully going to wrap up sort of our content bit about 2/3 the way through our allotted time together to allow for questions. As we're going through the presentation, Julie had referenced the Q&A box. Please do put questions there. We'll try to answer them on the fly. Absolutely don't mind breaking stride a bit to have a conversation as befits your community's needs. Just a very quick recap on who we are. Julie had already kind of introduced us. Baton Global, we are headquartered here in the Midwest in Des Moines, although we do have a bit of a global footprint and serve clients around the globe. Here's just a shot of some of the different clients that we work with. We've got a good mix of private, nonprofit, public sector, so we're active in a lot of different spaces and verticals. the kind of services that we do. We provide strategic advisory services to firms, helping them with their strategic plans, with ideation around mission, vision, and values. We do a lot of work in what we call our innovation suite and helping people understand how to better leverage data and use that as a goalpost for driving digital transformation. We provide a lot of services in leadership development, coaching, organizational design, and last but certainly not least is our research vertical, where we do an awful lot of customized research to help customers make better decisions and be better informed.
Wade, your slides aren't advancing unless you're still on the main page.
Oh dear. I will try again with another screen share. Let's see. Maybe I need to just share the deck like this. And it's maybe not as pretty a presentation view, but hopefully you're seeing.
Yep, we see the screen with Edward.
All right, let me get you just a little bit out here. All right, so this was the slide where I was speaking a bit to our services. Good, thanks for letting me know that's moving ahead okay, EC. Thank you, Julie, for the introduction. I think you had kind of covered all of this. Just with regards of letting the audience know, I've got my deepest experiences in global logistics and education technology. So any of you that are in those sectors, you know, feel free to throw anything my way as it relates to those sectors. EC, anything you'd like to add?
The only thing real quick that I want to introduce myself to people about that you're going to see on the next slide is a big part of the reason why I'm passionate about people, culture, and technology is because you can have the most effective strategy in the world, you can have the best products in the world, but unless you figure out these key pieces in the puzzle, you'll have a really hard time converting your strategy to achieve the results that you're trying to achieve. So that's why we're here today to talk with you about nailing down these pieces of the puzzle.
Absolutely. Thanks, EC. And also do note, you know, if the tone of the conversation we're having today, if the subjects we're covering is interesting to you, you'll see on our kind of introduction slides, we've highlighted a couple of the podcasts that you can access from our website, where we cover a lot of these themes in a lot more depth. This particular series, the CEO of Trility Consulting, also in Des Moines, he and I did about a four-session series on data and transformation in the finance sector. EC had recently done a similar series around transforming healthcare. So, you know, on our website, we got a lot of podcasts and collateral that's maybe more specific to certain verticals and industries that might catch your interest. So EC had kind of alluded to this, you know, in terms of technology, you know, technology being a great set of tools to help you realize desired outcomes. You know, I like this graphic because it does kind of show you that if you want to get from point A to point B, right, from what you've kind of got on your whiteboard to what you want to see on your bottom line, you know, you need to navigate these different pieces and try to fit together them in a way that's going to accrete value to your business. So it's just a nice, clear little graphic, but at the same time, it poses some very practical questions like, well, great, I get that people and culture and technology are important, but what do I do with that? You know, how do I take these different puzzle pieces and actually start to get to work on doing something that's going to help my business, right? Because, you know, what a year we've had, right? I mean, I don't, no matter how smart people were in 2020, plans went out the window, right? Nobody was really counting on a global pandemic, and it feels like recovery is starting. You know, we're very happy that the spring is here and, you know, the flowers are starting to bloom. It's like a really good time to take a breath and revisit what you're doing, what's your approach, and how are you going to leverage technology to better move forward. So in that spirit, what we're going to try to do today is give you really, really practical insight that is not platform specific. So we're going to go through these different lenses that are kind of related to people, culture, and technology, but thinking about how do you use these lenses to improve technology to get you better outcomes. So let's maybe start with technology as it can be oriented around the customer, because it often isn't. And a lot of times when we're talking to our clients about challenges that they have, it's this idea of being able to prioritize technological change that they want to drive and being able to better understand how it's going to meet their customers' needs. So we wanted to share with you a very simple framework that can kind of help you understand, like, where are you with this kind of 4-dimension framework. You're going to have, pockets of strength and maybe pockets that are a little unexplored, but that can help you understand what should you be working on next. So when you think about how you want to get a good customer orientation to drive technological investment, we talk about this idea of getting a customer experience understanding. Like, do you have your customers segmented? Do you really understand their needs and requirements? The next sort of step in that evolution is to really go through customer experience design, where you look at their journey to kind of be able to hone in on what are moments of truth for the customer, where are places in your customer journey that are not optimal and haven't been optimized, because this is where you want to focus your technological effort. After you've got a good kind of abstract understanding through this mapping, which we'll give you a couple of examples of these in subsequent slides. But here on the bottom is where you actually start getting into technology and technology platforms, right? Customer experience measurement. How are you measuring and getting feedback on how the customer feels about you? There's a variety of different technological platforms, whether it's very simple survey tools or functionality that's embedded in CRM platforms that can help you pull this stuff. But the extent to which you're gathering customer feedback and organizing that data in a way that's actionable is pretty key, and an area where folks often need a bit of help. The sort of last quadrant here is customer experience change implementation, because what you want to make sure that you're doing is you're taking this built understanding of your customer's journey and the customer experience sentiment, and this really needs to drive your technology decisions. When you're putting together your change agenda, when you're looking at your technology budgets and you're trying to understand, where should I invest? What do we want to do next? We always advise people to take this customer experience orientation and really use this information to drive your technological decisions. So use this very simple framework to kind of figure out, well, where am I? Do I have customer segments and personas? If not, start here. If you do, go here. Ask yourself the question around journey mapping. Ask yourself a question around the robustness of your measures, and ask yourself whether or not this information is really being used to drive your technology decisions. And that's just a good practical way of orienting yourself so that you're able to move. When we talk a lot with folks about customer journeys, I would say the knowledge and the technique is variable. Some people are super familiar with it, others less so. So we just wanted to add in a couple of visuals to just give you an idea that you'll establish your business process. And then along your business process, you're basically using different techniques to map out, how does your customer feel at different points in their journey with you, and where you find that experiences are suboptimal, generic, poor, or terrible. These are the places where you really want to put in your focus in terms of effort and resource to push the needle. And we we advocate this kind of customer experience lens to drive technological investment because it seems to pay off. You know, it's not just our idea. This is something that is demonstrably proven to boost the bottom line of companies that do have formal customer journey management programs and that use this sort of customer focus to improve their business. So given that, you know, again, just in the spirit of being very practical and pragmatic, we had just pulled together a little table that would say, hey, based on which one of these customer experience quadrants where you feel like you're putting in some effort already, you know, it's like, what should you do next, right? So, you know, great example. If you already have customer segments and personas defined, you know, maybe the next step is this reflected in your tech stack in some way? Does your data warehouse or your CRM take advantage of these personas so that the transactional data that you're getting out of these platforms, you can slice it versus these very important ways of looking at your customers? The idea that you can, you know, if you don't have journey maps, do them with customers. It's an incredible experience to have some of your senior leaders, some of your frontline staff, and some of your customers together actually walking through your processes from the customer's perspective to really understand these pain points and opportunities that can help drive what you do next with your technology. Similarly, the idea of managing customer experience, you know, like, well, how do I get in a standard usable way what customers are feeling about us? There's a lot of different ways to do that. You know, I put here that Baton loves NPS relationship. You know, Net Promoter Score has been around for a long time. It's widely used across industries. NPS relationship provides you not just an NPS score, but also a little bit of insight into people, process, and product, which is interesting. And this stuff can be embedded, especially if you're using a CRM platform. You know, we've seen a lot of success where folks take not just an NPS pulse, but kind of do this at moments of truth at the transactional level to be able to get the most up-to-date information about how customers are experiencing your service. But you can even use this information to help manage and guide staff if you're capturing it at the transactional level. And last but not least, that fourth quadrant of really using what are our customers experiencing and how do we translate that into our technology change agenda? Because, you know, oftentimes a technology change agenda can look like a mix between a Christmas list of shiny things that people want, and then kind of maybe the naughty list of the tech debt that people might be struggling with. And it's easy for the customer's perspective to get lost because they're not at the table during these conversations. And we just really encourage people to start and have these conversations about technology with the customer really first and foremost in mind. So that's sort of our first lens, really highlighting the need for customer experience focus, driving your technological decision-making processes. And that gives you a lot of requirements to work on in terms of how you embed it into your tech stack and how you use it to drive change and improve your staff's performance. I'm going to change tack a little bit now and really talk more about the topography of your technology. And what we've done here is we've just drawn 3 very simple steps, right? Because everybody's in different places, right? And it doesn't really matter where you are. It's just getting that profound understanding of where you are so that you can make the next right step for you. And we do this as a staircase because, you know, if you think about down here at the bottom, what we're trying to illustrate through this step is that you're probably fairly basic down here in that technology and your stack might vary across different groups, departments, or the enterprise, right? So the idea that down here on the bottom, you would be on this bottom step if you've got a highly siloed tech stack where different, sales is using this system and operations is using that system, and they don't necessarily talk to each other. You are collecting data, but it's being done more at this group and different department level, maybe not so much here at the enterprise level. And that's fine. Lots of people are on this step, so we always tell is like, look, you're not alone. What should you be doing if you find yourself down here? Really focus on practical technology projects that are proof of concept, right? A lot of people might maybe be sitting down here with a very fragmented, siloed system, and they'll maybe hear things like, ooh, data fabric, data lake, that sounds interesting, let's go there. We always encourage people to maybe slow that roll a little bit and to recognize that changing the technology is going to have profound implications on the organization's culture, structure, and way of working. And that if you want to be able to make these bigger moves, start real small with lower risk projects where you can start to break down silos very prescriptively, focus on high return things like cross-sell opportunities and referrals across departments, or defect monitoring as they go from one department to another, things that will get people thinking more in an enterprise way, right? The next step up is things are a little better, right? We're not as segmented. There are fewer silos. You're starting to play around with exploratory analytics. You're seeing use of operational data to inform what kind of decisions your company is making in terms of driving change and applying technology. And that's great. The emphasis here is really on making sure that integration is done very tightly. So you're either on a similar platform or you've got different platforms that are talking to each other really well. And at this point is where we really encourage that people are keeping an eye towards this sort of customer experience data and really trying to embed it so that it drives actual responses within their company. For example, analytics on customer experience that would map people to particular personas. And when you see behavior that is inconsistent with the way you've defined their persona, you can automatically design interventions to be queued up to your staff to maybe change the way service is provided to customers. So a lot of things that are really interesting and provide tailored experiences for your customers can kind of come to life here. Then lastly, we kind of put up here at the top is like, hey, if you've made this, you're kind of at the top of the mountain. This would be having a real integrated tech stack that's going to employ a data lake for analytics, which is going to give you a lot of power to be able to take not just internal but external data sets and really play, experiment a lot with the data that you have available to better determine products and services that you can offer your customers or surface opportunities for efficiency. Providing just a little bit of advice in terms of technological platforms as people want to move towards embracing big data and using it better. We like to provide, the advice we're going to show you on the following slides, we think is really pragmatic and useful, kind of no matter where you are. Data has become such kind of a buzzword of late, especially as you look at different technological solutions. And we always encourage, it's like, look, when you hear people talk about, hey, this is our data strategy, it's kind of like, well, we don't lead with that necessarily. It's technology is not necessarily going to be that thing that solves your problem the minute you turn it on. So this isn't a question of, oh, well, I'm gonna flick this switch and then this journey is over. It's like if you're going to be architecting these solutions to move to these kind of environments that can use data well, it's going to take a lot of time. and don't expect a big bang or a big transformation. We did that sort of staircase graphic for a reason, because it is a journey of many steps that should be defined as having measurable business targets, so that the technological changes that you're doing, they're not just happening in a vacuum in a back room where people don't know about it. You're really trying to deliver frontline benefit throughout this journey that just helps to build enthusiasm and embed the change. Silos are just kind of a fact of human organization. We're really good at siloing ourselves. I think there's just something about that that's very comfortable for human beings to do. And it doesn't really give you the best business outcome. So, for folks that, if you're on the call and you know that you have a siloed technical architecture, this sort of data hub is a good kind of theory to help get you out of there, where you really want to make sure that you're porting all of your data out of these different silos into a common place where data can be aggregated, where different silos can subscribe to get updated data from this sort of hub structure. This can be a very good intermediary step as you're progressing towards your future desired state, and it can help to deliver benefit in a shorter time window than maybe waiting for the all singing, all dancing technological solution. Last but not least, we always advise people really reinforcing the importance of the enterprise mindset. Data is often not leveraged because it hasn't really been democratized enough. And what we mean by democratizing data is you've actually got to get it in staff's hands so that they're able to do something with it. And, from a cultural perspective, it's interesting. In projects we've been involved with where people are making technological advancements to improve their data sets, right? Maybe they've implemented a CRM, or they're putting more workflow and customer experience solicitation in their CRM platform to get that data. There's almost a reflexive habit of restricting access to it. And that just doesn't deliver the value to the organization that you would ideally want. You want people to have access to wide data sets. You want people to be able to play. And we use that term a lot in these kind of projects, where it's like you need to deliberately create groups whose charge are to have a little bit of time every now and again to experiment and play. Because, putting in things like, whether it's Tableau or Power BI, and providing these dashboards that give people a lot of power, that's got to be met with an ability for people to learn those skills, to play with it, to play with data that they're not used to seeing, to start to ask better questions. And we, down here at the bottom of the slide, we talk about a culture of iteration and experimentation. And that is just a wonderful thing to build when you think about how you want to leverage technology, because technology is always changing. And no matter what you implement, there will be something different, next year. So using your technological projects to be able to create a spirit of play and experimentation will help you adapt to whatever comes down the pipe. So we've kept this pretty generic, keeping in mind that across an audience, you're going to be on different platforms and have different levels of experience, but hopefully some of that advice about how to leverage tech stack to better improve data that will also then improve customer outcomes. Hopefully some of that resonates with you on the call. There are a couple of other trends that are kind of interesting to be aware of. There's and we kind of put it in quotes, this idea of the citizen coder. There's a lot of stuff out there that is really advertising low code, no code interventions. This idea that you don't necessarily need everything to be done by developers. People can kind of do things themselves. I'm thinking here about tools like Pega, Pega's like a big CRM platform that is a low-code platform. The Microsoft stack has like Power Automate, which provides a lot of interesting tools. They bought Softomotive not too long ago to take advantage of robotic process automation. This is a really, really interesting and exciting trend, and it's worth your attention. I would say it's not as easy as it sounds, right? It's can you turn anybody in your organization loose with Power Automate and expect that the output is going to work? I would kind of tell you no. It is a little harder than that. People do need a good kind of, if they're not a developer, they need to have some of a developer's discipline, because understanding conditionality it is important to be able to do that. And it's, when I look at some of these features on different platforms, they're really good. I don't mean to talk down to them. I think they can be very powerful, but you need to have the right expectations. Like your staff is not just going to get in there and immediately be working on it super well. You've got to provide some time and some boundaries in which people can experiment to be able to kind of get on their feet with this stuff. But it's super worthwhile. I feel almost comfortable in saying, regardless of what flavor of technological environment you have, your vendor is going to have or will start to introduce these kind of tools, and they are definitely worth a look. Because if you think about what we said about the customer lens and putting data in people's hands, this is a real logical progression to help your organization be more responsive. Data scientists is another role that's becoming, extraordinarily popular over the last few years, and people are using this term more and more. Again, like a real important ingredient to have, especially as you start to grapple with wider data sets. There's just a lot of techniques of wrangling data that you want to be able to extract out of your technology that's super complicated. And it does help to have, specialists in regression type techniques to help you make sense of it, because it's a little counterintuitive. Oftentimes what you see, doesn't really provide the insights that you can get from techniques like regression analysis. And for that, you tend to need to either obtain or rent, outsource some of these roles to be able to really understand what you can do best with your data and how that informs your technological path forward. The last lens we said we're going to look through is kind of culture, and it's really interesting because people often see culture and technology as being distinct things, but there's actually a lot of great tools out there that put these things together very, very elegantly for you. Showing you here as an example, there's a platform called WPA that does a really good job of putting a lot of disaggregate data together in a way that helps you visualize culture through technology to be able to take action on it, right? Because we all know intuitively that if the desire of the firm is to be more creative and more competitive, but your behaviors in use are more around bureaucratic control and how that impacts collaboration, that lack of fit is going to reduce your ability to be efficient. It's going to reduce your ability to meet your customers' needs. And there's technology for this, right? There's technology that will provide you these visualizations so that you are able to drill in and actually start to look at where you need to modify culture to get the organizational performance that you want. This is maybe another view of a different technical platform. The Predictive Index is something that a lot of folks have had some experience with. And again, it takes this idea of talent and job role and job fit, and how does that work within the context of the wider organization. And this is really abstract stuff that a lot of people don't immediately go to technology as being something that can help you here, but it really can. And this sort of provides a visual of, hey, if you've got an organization and you're plotting different people based on their kind of behavioral traits to understand how that impacts team dynamics. And what you're seeing here is, my goodness, what appears to be a team of engineers, right? A lot of emphasis on results and discipline, a lot of emphasis on process and precision, maybe not so much with teamwork or innovation and agility. And if you've got the technology that helps you understand this, you're much better placed to take specific action and steps to kind of get that organizational culture, the organizational emphasis that you're looking for. So even though culture is abstract and very humanistic, there is great technology out there that can support you. So we've kind of gone through the lenses, and I hope there was something in there that resonated for you, looking at people, culture, and technology. Because when you talk about technology, and digital transformation is something that companies have been working on for the last 2 decades and going to be working on it for the next 2 decades probably. But when you look at why do these things fail? Why do transformations maybe not deliver the intended result? A lot of these reasons, they're just not real technical. They're human in nature, right? Because we are the problem. And this is exactly why when we talk about technology and how do you figure out where to put your effort, how do you figure out what to focus on, that customer experience focus that we talked about at the beginning can go a long way to remediating some of these things, right? If executive support can rally around what the customer wants, right? This provides you a good vision of what you need to do to move forward. So the technological challenges that we grapple with, they are human in nature, which is why we recommend these different lenses to evaluate what to do. Again, when we talk about the future, the idea of Industry 4.0, what are the things that companies need to be doing, you will see again that a lot of this isn't super technical. Where it is really coming into how do you leverage data. But again, if you don't pay attention to the humanistic dimension of this, the need to democratize the data that you're leveraging, putting it in people's hands so that they can learn and play with it. And then that will be your well from which a lot of ideas will come about how you can better help your customer. This is kind of how it all connects together. Lastly, and good, we're leaving a bit of time for questions that people might have. Again, just being very practical, we just wanted to give like some helpful hints, having been involved in a lot of different technical related projects, a lot of projects that relate to aggregating data and getting companies to use their data better. These are just kind of like tips that we would say, boy, we've come across these things a lot in different engagements. Journey mapping as being kind of the initial input to your technological budgeting process, your technological development process. When you start thinking about doing a specification for technology change, that should come from a journey map somewhere, right? It's like that should be in response to something you've seen on a journey map so that you can really draw that connection between what does the customer need and what are we going to do with our technology to remediate that. Democratization of data, it's a little bit like remote working used to be pre-COVID. Some people are just not going to get this as a concept. Some people really want to hang on to stuff and to control it. And we really advocate to open that up so that more people can be involved with more data. Don't spend all your time negotiating with people who aren't going to change their position on that. You've got to get your core team of supporters, spend some time trying to explain these concepts and why they're valuable and why they work for companies, and then move. They're just always going to be detractors when you try to democratize your data to drive performance. The kind of counterpoint to that is, champions. A lot of companies, especially once they start to get a bit of scale, will often have some kind of young or emerging leader program. I mean, it's really like the Venn diagram is almost a drink coaster for this one. When you think about what are the behaviors you need to drive technology change and improved utilization of data, and the sort of younger emerging manager set, this is a really good group to latch onto and have them help drive this change. In terms of governance, we always advocate a multifunctional, very senior team to drive these technology developments. Don't just leave it in the IT vertical, because it's got to deliver business benefit. And so these functional leaders can kind of drive that expectation and make that happen. Data dictionaries and process maps, man, these are painful things to do. But if you are embarking on a journey of integrating data, and you're trying to either build or improve the utility of your data warehouse, having the due diligence of defining all of this stuff and having it documented and referenceable is just paramount of importance. And last but not least, as we try to show you through some visuals of some different technological products that are widely available, when you talk about the culture element and the people element, this stuff seems ephemeral, but it's really not. This stuff can be quantified really well. It can be visualized really well. You can use technology to show you where you are with culture, and to help you understand the kind of steps that you want to take next to get the culture that you want. So we've got a little bit of time left for questions. I hope, I'm not quite sure, Julie, we're super happy if this is available to people. I mean, we really
absolutely. We can send this out and make this available afterwards. You've got some great slides in here, and information. So happy to share it.
Wonderful. All right, so I'd love to open the floor up and see if there's any questions that anyone has or experiences that they'd like to share about what we tried to cover today.
I'm not seeing any come through the Q&A box, but I will say the characteristics of your Industry 4.0 slide, and just conveying that it's really not that technical, and the points that you have up there. I think organizations can look at this and feel like they're gaining some ground, probably more than they think they are. When you hear Industry 4.0, it makes it sound like it's this big thing out there and difficult to get to, but really when you break it down by the nuggets that you did, like I said, a lot of organizations are working in these spaces to improve.
Mm-hmm. So Julie, while we're waiting for questions, I just wanted to share, Wade, you shared how using technology to map and manage the customer journey can significantly improve the revenue from customer referrals, using technology to analyze the organization's culture and to analyze and manage the individual and the team characteristics can also significantly improve performance. And I just wanted to share some statistics. Taking the approach that Wade showed you on slide 19 for talent optimization and engagement has shown to increase productivity 17%, decrease quality defects 40%, increase profitability by 21%. So it can be daunting to try to make the connection between using technology to try to analyze and understand the customer journey and the organization's culture and the individual and team characteristics, and then try to connect that to a hard dollar improvement to your organization. But there are hard dollar benefits to taking this approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, AC.
Well, I'm not seeing any questions, but certainly within your deck, there's information about how folks can reach out to you directly with any follow-up questions that they have, or just kind of want to talk concepts. So We're very happy to have you folks here today. Really important information. I'd like to thank the U.S. Department of Defense today. The Quad Cities Chamber received grant funds from the U.S. Department of Defense and the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation to support educational events like this. And again, as a reminder, a recording of this program will be posted on our website later. And then you're also going to receive an email today asking you to take a quick 1-minute survey. It helps us understand how we're doing, and you will also be entered into a monthly drawing to win a $25 gift card. So everybody have a great day. We appreciate your time. And gentlemen, thanks again for your information.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks for having us, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.